You're listening to a Pop House Network podcast for developers by developers. Welcome to Java OffHeap episode 67. Hey everyone, is now getting a bit of chilly temperatures. This is our October episode of Java OffHeap. For those who are tuning in for the first time, my name is Freddie Guime. I'm one of the principal engineers at Expedia, author, speaker, jChampion, Seattle Java User Group co-organizer, and I'm here with my usual suspects.
So, Freddie, I have no idea what you're talking about. It was like 65 degrees here in Chicago. It must just be cold in Seattle. Not sure what's going on.
I was down. Like now, if it gets below like 68, is like
whiny. Okay. Anyways,
it's gonna be in the 40s when he comes back to town. He'll be
exactly.
And then Bob will be on shorts. Like
that's how I roll. If it's above 50, I'm in shorts. All right, Bob Paulin, independent software developer from Chicago, Apache Software Foundation member, CJEC board chair, speaker, and Java champion.
I'm Josh Juneau. I'm a Java Jakarta One developer by day, also database administrator, author, open source developer by night, member of the Jakarta One ambassadors, CJEC board member, Apache NetBeans PMC, and Java champion.
Michael Manella, a member of the Spring Engineering team, author, speaker, Java champion, chairman of the Reactive Foundation, curmudgeon at large.
All right. And before we dive in, we wanted to thank our sponsor, Datadog. Today's show is sponsored by Datadog, a monitoring and analytics platform that integrates with over 450 technologies, including AWS services, Docker, and Kubernetes. Datadog's platforms bring together metrics, traces, and logs in one place, so you can get full visibility into your environment and improve your application performance. With machine learning-based alerts, customizable dashboards, and distributed tracing, Datadog makes it easy to unify disparate data sources so you can troubleshoot faster. Start your free Datadog trial today. Listeners of this podcast will receive a free t-shirt once you install the agent and create one dashboard. Visit javaoffheap.com/Datadog to get started. Again, that URL is javaoffheap.com/Datadog. And we thank them for being sponsors of the show. All right. Now, let's get into it.
Now, Michael, you're going to deal me in? See you with all those cards. All right, let's go.
You did work at a casino once, right? Like
me?
Yeah, no.
So I actually did some charity work, dealing blackjack, but no, back in like high school and whatnot, I was big into card magic.
Nice.
Look at
that. You could be on the Penn and Teller show, huh?
I'm not that good, although that is a good show. I do enjoy it.
It is good.
No, there used to be somebody who went on the presentation circuit on Java, and he was like a magician, like
Michael something.
Michael Carucci.
Yes. It wasn't the No Fluff store. Yeah.
He's still on it too. I feel like
he still does it. Yeah, he still does it.
Yeah, and it's like for those who haven't, who get an opportunity to see him, like if he'll have like the Magic and Java show, and it's fun. Like the things that he does is one of those where like, wow, yeah, that is really a magic trick. Like I didn't realize I was carrying a piece of paper in my pocket. Like, so it's super, super fun. But let's dive into it. So we have events. What are the events that are coming? I guess.
Go. Well, we have EclipseCon coming first. That's right around the corner next week. Actually, I'm not sure when you'll hear this, but October 25th through the 28th. Mm-hmm. And this is all online, EclipseCon. And if you go to the website, you can see, quite a bit of what they're going to have. They've got lots of summaries pertaining to the talks that they're going to be hosting. Lots of good speakers around everything in the Eclipse world. So it should be good.
Yeah, no, and it's one of those where if you haven't tried Eclipse for a while, like what was Q and saying just in the pre-show of like, it's actually very stable right now. Upgrades are non-issue. They fix a lot of stuff. So if you want to check and not see a lot of indexing in your life, maybe it's time to take a look at it again. So yeah. Definitely.
And now we'll never get IntelliJ as a sponsor for the show.
It's okay.
I guess that's okay.
We love all of them, right? Like
I use it.
They do.
I use IntelliJ.
Yeah, I mean, they all go through. It seems like it's almost cyclical. You know, as you're improving your product, you're bound to break something. And Eclipse broke their stuff early, and have learned from it. EclipseCon though is like it's more focused on the internals and the things below the surface than so much on the IDE. While there are IDE sessions, a lot of it is on like the OSGI framework, different projects within Eclipse. Yep. So it is a fairly technical conference and a good one to go to if you're interested in the tech stack that goes into Eclipse and the other projects at the Eclipse Foundation.
Yep, and this year is great to attend because it's all online, so it should be easy to see what you want to see.
You can actually double click. So, all right, the next one, Reactive Summit.
Yeah, this one's coming up in a couple of weeks, so November 2nd and 3rd. Here are from the experts on all things reactive technologies. Check it out. By the time this comes out, it was originally launched with a $10 fee. We're rolling that back. So it'll be free to attend. It is online. So yeah, be sure to check it out.
Yeah, no, like, I know, like it's interesting. Like I can see the adoption. It took a while. We're usually a little bit laggers where I work in adopting some of these like cool new trends, but it works. So like it actually works. Like if you go all in and you
sound like you doubted it originally.
Oh, it's a little healthy skepticism, right? But it stick, which is a good thing because sometimes these things come and go. And the second one is it works. So yes, I'll be attending that to see like what new.
Awesome. Cool.
Yes. So Jakarta One, I have on the list here. This is one of the Jakarta One online conferences. It will be held December 7th. This is for the Americas here, and it should be a good conference. This will be covering mostly Jakarta EE and micro-profile sessions. And I took a look at some of the talks that are going to be there, and it seems like it should be a pretty good one.
Oh, wow. Like Mary Grigleski is going to be there. That's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. There, Emily Yang, Adam Beam. So yeah, these are and Mike Milinkovic will be doing the keynote. Oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, it should be a good conference.
Right. And now bringing us home, Bob.
Yeah, so we've got Jconf.dev in Chicago from December 8th to the 10th. And I guess one of the interesting things about that one is we're, at that kind of cusp of trying to go back in person. At this point, it is still an in-person conference. So it will be in Chicago, just kind of keeping my ear to the ground on numbers for Corona and things like that. And things are kind of heading in the right direction. So I don't have any reason to doubt that it won't just go off without a hitch. So if you've been itching for one of those in-person conferences, as I know I have, for quite some time, Michael, insert your catch line here for you miss your blanks.
I miss hugs.
Hear it every week about that, but I mean it's true. It's been a long time since we've had an in-person conference as a podcast even. So really looking forward to that. Freddie, you're going to be in town because you're speaking.
So yeah, our December podcast recording is going to be fun. We're going to do it
in person.
Yes.
So very much looking forward to that. Very looking forward to seeing everybody again and seeing familiar faces. So if you are looking for an in-person experience, I would say it's probably worth taking that calculated risk of doing it in Chicago. They've been, pretty good in Chicago about managing things. And I expect if it is in person in December, it should be a good and safe experience.
Right. And just to in that conference, I know that my bribe went through and they accepted my paper. So I'll be speaking. Josh, you are speaking too. And
Yep.
Mike, you're speaking, right?
I'm not.
Neither am I, though. So I'm just there in spirit.
So yeah, definitely check Josh. Josh talk. You're talking on Jakarta EE micro profile, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be co-speaking with Edwin Dirks. He is coming from the Netherlands, and he will be discussing a bit about microprofile. I'll be talking about Jakarta EE.
Definitely.
Yeah. But you got a lot of Chicago crowd there. So Mary Grigleski will be there. So, you know, from CJUG, you should have pretty good representation. But yeah, even internationally, you got Todd Ginsburg, who used to be in Chicago. You know, he's moved to the East Coast, or is he in Texas now? I forget.
Texas, I think.
Texas.
I think he's in Texas now. But you've got the international folks, like, you know, you've got Billy, Ira
is going to be there, right?
Yeah. You've got Josh Long, I think, is going to be there. I mean, it's going to be a party.
Going through.
Yeah.
So.
Like Keto is actually speaking too. Like
Keto, Ken Cousin.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got, I mean, again, if you've been itching for an in-person Kirk Pepperdine is going to be there doing JVM. So Chandra is going to be, it's going to be a party. So if you've been missing your Java peeps, this is the place to be.
I can't wait. just crossing my fingers. There's no lockdowns until then. That's it.
No, we're all being optimistic about it. So.
Yep. And next one is jChampions.
Yeah, so the jChampions conference is going to be happening in January. This is all Java Champions speakers, and it is run by the Java Champions. And it seems like we're starting the kickoff a little bit late here. I think the CFP is going to be opening up soon, so we will probably start to post the accepted talks probably later in November, December timeframe, I would say at this point, but I'm not exactly sure yet. But keep your eye out on the website, jChampionsConf.io.
Got it. And this one will be online, right? Or they're putting.
This is an online conference, all online.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, no. A lot of like AAA speakers too. So.
Yep. And then getting back, go ahead.
I was just going to restate the website, jChampionsConf.com. We went with .com, not .io.
Because you could actually get the domain name. I mean, isn't that preferable?
Yep.
Yeah, no.
All right. Then to close things out, DevNexus, another in-person in Atlanta, scheduled for April 2022. And the call for papers is still open. So again, if you're itching to go and you don't want to pay for it because you want to speak, you still have a chance. And I'm sure that they've, again, another great conference, whether you've spoken before or never spoken before, you know, a lot of these talks are judged, you know, again, what you're speaking about. Great place to start off if you've never done it before. So submit and check it out. One of the more inexpensive, but still high quality Java conferences that I've been to. And, you know, your flight may even be on time because it's like the second most busy or the first most busy airport in the freaking country. So
that's right. They're a hub for a lot of things. Yeah,
they are.
So, and for those who have been on DevNexus before, just like Bob is saying, like they did push it back. It used to be a February conference, but they're pushing it to April just to be sure that things are going well. So you know, we appreciate that, like from them. So, all right, now those are the events that are happening. Let's go to news. First news.
So I threw this first one on there. Just saw it on Twitter and thought it looked cool. JReleaser 0.7.0 is been released. I took a look at the website. This is a quick and effortless way to release your Java project. Looks like you can release a project and publish and announce right away with just like a single command using the CLI. So this definitely looks like a project that'd be worth looking into if you're having problems managing your project and getting it published and released. And so take a look at it.
Oh, wow. Yes, apparently it has like, I guess, Docker, chocolately, like packaging, everything. Wow, okay.
Yeah, SDK, man. So, I mean,
Yeah.
wow, you've got a lot of coverage here. So,
And I believe it's Andres Almere.
yeah, no, we've had him in
Runs it.
Chicago for speaking, and I've seen him tweeting about this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
You know, I
Gary.
haven't had a chance to look at the bits for it, but it looks like an interesting idea.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
definitely looks like it'll streamline releases a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'll appreciate that.
All right, let's ship it.
Next thing that I had put on there was JDK 18. It's shaping up.
All right. What are
And the main thing I wanted to mention on this is that if you take a look at the OpenJDK site, right now there are only a small handful of JEPs that are targeted for 18. But there's a couple of them that look pretty interesting. Of course, you've got the Vector API. That's the third incubator.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, so it probably will hopefully make it into 18 here. But then you've got things like code snippets in Java API documentation. It looked pretty sweet. It looked like it'll be pretty nice little touch to the Java doc that will make it nice. And then something I thought we might want to discuss is the simple web server, which is JEP 408. And basically the summary says to provide a command line tool to start a minimal web server that serves static files only. No CGI or servlet-like functionality is available. And this will be useful for prototyping, ad hoc coding, testing purposes, particularly in educational contexts. So just wasn't kind of wondering what you guys thought about that one.
These things are always nice. I mean, you've got Node specific things built out for this type of thing, and Express and other kind of lightweight.
Python has like
Python has it. And I mean, it is very convenient to be able to do this, instead of downloading, say, an Nginx or an Apache, web server to run that locally. So just to have a language feature, just to pop open a port and let you render some files in a browser, you get a lot done. I like this.
Well, the question is, and first the PSA.
Who's going to run it in prod?
Yes, like the first is exactly right. Like the first PSA is, do not use this.
You don't know that. Probably a bad idea. But I haven't looked at it yet. I haven't tried it yet. Probably a bad idea, though.
But it's one of the
literally not non-goal number one in the JEP. It is not a goal to provide a feature-rich or commercial grade server. Far better alternatives exist in the form of server frameworks, production servers.
So the JEP says it's a bad idea. So,
who reads those anyways?
These full-fledged and performance-optimized technologies take effort to configure, which is exactly what we want to avoid.
Okay, so the second one is
Brian, if you're listening and people start using it in production, blame Freddie.
Okay, the second one is under or over that this is going to get patched. What do you think?
Oh, of course it's going to get patched. Guaranteed. I mean, even if they do it right, it's going to get patched. I mean,
3 months, 6 months before we get the first security.
How long are the releases? It's 6 months now, or do they move it to 3?
Oh, that's right? Like
it's every 3,
isn't it? Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
So you think in the next quarterly release, there'll be a patch for this already? Because somebody used it in production and
somebody screwed something up. It's going to happen.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing for this will be that it makes popping a port. Well, I guess that would have been easy anyways.
You're going to use the sockets. Yeah. I mean, but
yeah.
I mean, to link in files and things like that, there's a little bit more code. You don't have to write it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, this will probably be an easy way for like reverse shells and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Or,
I want to back up real quick and just say that it's going to still be every 6 months, the release.
That's what I thought.
Training.
Yeah, I forgot, but there should be the updates, even the updates, your regular patching updates are every 6 months.
Yep. Yeah, because
they
then
didn't change the release cadence. They changed the LTS cadence from 3 years to 2.
yes.
Right. No, I'm thinking because like I always see like the last part of like, because I was using SDK man, and I always notice that there's like, oh, there's a new Java 17 something or the other, but never pay attention because I was just running locally for like some stuff. Never pay attention if that was like a 6-month update or if it was like a next week update or something like that. All right. Well, yeah, 18 is coming. Good things are getting in there. So
I'm sure there'll be a lot more.
Yep.
Yeah, this is still early.
Yep. All right. Next one is your Josh.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention the Jakarta E10 release plan is shaping up, and things will be starting to move into testing phases soon. I believe there are going to be a couple of items here I'll touch on. There's going to be a core profile created. This is going to complement the web profile. There's going to be a minimum of Java SE11. And then also the TCK is going to be up so that it will be able to successfully run with Java 17 as well, which will be kind of nice. And so a couple more things to mention. There's some removal of a couple of EJB features, which include EJB, entity beans, and embeddable. Lots of changes here coming up for 10. This is, I think, the release that people were waiting for, that we're actually seeing some change in the Java EE realm. So stay tuned. And it's due early 2022.
How many years later?
I know it's been moving, but
it
been
happened.
moving slow.
You know what?
It happened,
did.
though.
It did. So yeah, kudos, right? Like there was the Java X to Jakarta namespace move, and trying to get all that squared away, and now it's cool. It's alive, it's sticking. That works.
Yeah, I mean, basically a year was taken up on that Java namespace change. But
because lawyers, right?
Yep.
As long as it runs in Kubernetes, right?
Yeah.
There's an enterprise server out there. They're still running it, and someone have the brilliant idea of JEP 408.
Oh, I had to open my mouth.
It's all together, like blended.
All joking aside, people, there are specs within Jakarta that do need to run on Kubernetes, servlets and JPA and CD. Like there's lots of stuff in there that's
that is
like
not
Jakarta is not just the platform. Right.
Keep them separate. If you look at all the APIs separately, there are lots of things you can do that are useful. You don't have to be in a big application server container.
If you're using Spring, you're using Jakarta in most cases.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Next one. Eclipse IDE.
Yep. I got the update midway through September. Been using it for about a month. No complaints.
No issues. On JDK 17 too, right?
No, actually, still JDK 11. Okay. I don't know that it requires 17. I think
it supports 17.
They may have supported it, but that's kind of my breaking point, right? That's when the Java home environment variable finally changes in my Windows environment is when they do that. But I did not have to do that for the September release. It is still working just fine on Java 11.
Nice. It says it runs Java 17 through a plugin and supports Java refactoring, code assist, Git, history navigation, and the IDE's dark mode.
So you run it.
I haven't used that yet, so I guess I'm old school.
That is cool. I mean, I didn't know they had a dark mode in Eclipse.
Everybody needs a dark mode.
That is the future now. All right. I think the next one is I think.
Oh, so yeah, no, I put that in there, and it's just it's a small enough thing, but it's kind of a big thing in the broader ecosystem of computer chips is, and we haven't really talked about it very much on the show, but now that Raspberry Pi is actually for the first time ever having to increase their price. So they originally in February, they had dropped the Raspberry Pi 4 from $45 to $35. And again, this is an incredible piece of hardware that, to be able to get for $35, you can basically run Linux, you can run Java on it. You can do a number of really cool things for the very low price of $35, is now having to revert that back to that $45 price point. And for those that may not have been just kind of keeping an eye on things, is prices for a lot of things have been going up just due to different shortages. A lot of it's very likely related to the pandemic, but if you've tried to buy a computer lately, if you try to buy a car lately, things are kind of in demand and there's kind of a shortage of stuff. Raspberry Pi is not immune to that, and they've had to increase their prices because of it.
Yeah, this one disappoints me. Don't get me wrong, I get it, I understand it, but I hope this is viewed as a temporary thing based on the current conditions with the chips and the shortages and whatnot. Because I know we were talking about a little bit about this before the show, how when I look at the ecosystem of accessible technologies for kids, ways for kids to get access to technology, I see really the majority of the options are expensive toys. Like there's all kinds of toys out there to teach your kid how to program, and they're all freaking expensive. Like, so most of them start north of $100. Mm-hmm. And when we think about, open source, we think about, the accessibility to all these different tools that are really life-changing for everybody on this call, right? I mean, think about what we'd be doing if we weren't writing software, and the kind of incomes we would have and the opportunities we would have if we weren't doing these kinds of things. And then think about, what that could do for somebody who's underprivileged, who doesn't have access to the financial means that, that most of us had. And, I hope that the Raspberry Pi remains something that is still long-term achievable and attainable by, people that don't have a lot of money.
Yep, I agree.
And it is interesting because the Raspberry Pi is more than a toy. Like it is a full-fledged computer, and you can actually learn how to program in that thing. Like you can run. Yep. You can start with Python. You can actually do Java.
Play games on it. I mean, it's a full featured thing. And I mean, at $35 and $45, again, just to reiterate Michael's point, if you're at the poverty level, that's the difference between it being, a half a day's work and,
exactly
2 hours of work. So, I mean, it's significant at that level. Whereas, where we look at it, it may not seem as a very significant thing. But I mean, the beauty of the Pi, I feel, is that it is not just open source, it's also open hardware. So in the event that somebody could produce it cheaper, the specs are out there.
True.
If you've got manufacturing and you can actually do it better, this is unlike a proprietary thing where, hey, we own it. This is our price, take it or leave it. If somebody out there, has access to these chips and can do it cheaper, knock yourself out. That's the beauty of open hardware.
That's true. Good point.
Now, I'm trying to think one of the purchases I have when I was garage sale hunting. I don't know if we talk about it ever in this podcast, but was I managed to buy a PC XT. So for those who don't remember, those were the original IBM, personal computers, and the person that sold it to me still had the receipt, and it showed that he paid $10,000 for that piece of hardware, right? And just thinking about that, now you can get something that is 1,000 times more powerful than that XT for $45, going from $10,000 to $45. It's mind-blowing.
I've always found that, related to that, I've always found it interesting that, at least for personal computers, not talking servers and that kind of stuff, but just your average, what the average person has at home, the price point really hasn't changed much ever. the power of it has, but $1 to $3 grand, depending on how rich your tastes are. That range is basically where I would bet the majority of people's purchases of a modern laptop, whenever that is, going back from the 90s all the way to now, like that's always been about that price range. They just said that just slam more and better hardware in there.
No, it is. I think it's still trending lower, because I think there's things that you wouldn't be able to see that. Like you do get to see I remember seeing the first sub 1,000 laptop, and then they go all the way to sub 500. Like,
oh yeah, I get that there. You can put, there's the people push both ends. I won't deny that, but I guess what I've always considered like the middle of the road of, if I'm gonna
you averagely spend
the college kids, what are you going to recommend for your mom or your grandma or that kind of thing? Like, it's powerful enough to do anything they want, and you don't, you're not gonna, they're gonna have to. They're not going to bother you for 8 years or whatever. He's basically have to die
until they're like, why is the Keeps toolbar taking so much space? Like,
it's not been my experience, but I get bothered every day with family computer questions, regardless of how much money they spend on them.
Yeah. No, there's another wave coming, because Windows 11 is out, and I know like
it is
for those Mac users, they don't. Well, I think the Mac users have to buy hardware every year anyways, but
only dongles.
Hey, now with the new MacBook Pros coming out, they're bringing all the ports back.
Ports are coming back, yes. and the ports are back. The touch bar is gone. The MagSafe is back. All
the old keyboard.
It's literally, they literally did a git revert for a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
All it took was a chip shortage, and it's like we can't build shit anymore. Come on.
Good. Like if that's what it took, good.
So there was the Apple event, and there were new hardware that was announced. I think like, was it 2 weeks ago? No, it was a week ago, right?
Just Monday.
It was this week. Yeah, it was this week.
Oh, yeah. But in the Windows, I already have like my Windows thing coming in. Hey, 11 is out. Want to check if your computer is compatible? And it's like, like,
nope. Yeah, mine neither. So I mean,
not secure. Like
I'm on an upgrade list for myself too. So I got to go up to the boss and ask for more money for a computer.
I was like, no.
That's vacation money.
One of the benefits of the PC though is that you can just swap out those components that you need, right?
It's not that simple on a laptop. Like, so integrated like CPUs are a little bit trickier. Sure. So you can't really do a whole much on a laptop now. On a, if you've got a box, you might be able to save the box, but the motherboard and the chipsets are very tightly coupled. So, when you're talking, so my laptop, for an instance, I think it's a generation 6. I think the minimum for 11 is a generation 9 Intel. So it's like, I'm a few generations below what the minimum is for the OS.
So don't let you upgrade your laptop, huh?
I mean, I bought a more well-made laptop this time around. Usually I used to just buy cheap laptops with a lot of memory and a lot of speed, and kind of got burned on other components. This is the first time I spent a little bit more money on one, and I've been really happy with it. It's lasted a lot longer when I don't pour water on it. But it's interesting, even if you buy something quality in that higher range on what Michael was stating, they still become obsolete. I will not be able to install Windows 11 on this thing. I will need to upgrade my chipset before that happens. So.
Even
what was the latest version of Windows when you bought it?
It was 10. So I mean, I didn't have to go through.
We're literally one version next. Your SOL.
But this was like post continuous upgrades Windows. So Windows like hasn't gone through an upgrade in like 4 or 5 years. Like they've just been patching 10 forever.
Okay, well, so still, like Mac, you're going to get more than one version of OS of their operating system
Oh no, the way Mac works is they just give you something you hate, and the moment that Apple releases something else, and you just have to upgrade. That's
I guess I don't count it as versions. I mean, you'd almost have. I mean, it's weird in Windows. You don't really have an equivalent because you'd almost have to take all the patch releases, the cumulative updates, and count those as Mac releases because they've had some fairly significant cumulative releases that they call it, where it's like, yeah, I just downloaded 4 gigs worth of shit for my operating system upgrade. You're not going to call that a new version? Okay.
And if you took your Mac, I bet you couldn't put the OS from 5 years ago on it.
Yeah.
Right.
We've had podcast episodes where it's like Bob's still working for his Windows upgrade and it's like 11 o'clock. We've been there.
Oh yeah.
That's a patch release for Windows.
Never click the Windows update button.
That was at the Roundhouse last time.
Yes, it was.
It was a late night. We had a lot of good beer. But yeah, that's it. Well, no, yes, I haven't had a version upgrade in a long time. You're right.
No, the interesting one, the last thing I was just say is like Windows 11 apparently has like a Linux core kernel that you can actually like right now it's still a little bit of smoke and mirrors with Windows subsystem for Linux, but I think like on 11 it's native where right now like if you use WSL, depending on how do you use WSL, things like permissions, like file permissions are slow. Everything will work. It's just that file system might be slow using WSL2, but native runs better. So I apparently like on Windows 11, the big thing is that now all of that is like Linux based. Like somebody on Twitter, on my Twitter feed was like, I knew that Linux was going to run on every machine in the world. I just didn't know it was going to be called Windows. So that's the fun part I'm looking forward to. Actually being able to natively run Linux and just with a Windows, so essentially GUI. So, all right, let's get into it. Our discussion topic. Oh no, we still have things to go.
We still have more news. So
right. 2 more.
Michael, I think you've got the next one.
Yeah. So this one actually came out, I believe today. This was today. So Lightbend posts on their blog today, October 20th, a blog about the future of the Play framework. So Play is Lightbend's web-based framework. It's built on Akka. They're basically, the blog essentially says they're looking for somebody to take it over. They are stepping away from it. To use their phrase, we at Lightbend have simply finished writing our chapter in the story and are now trusting the following chapters to the community and power of OSS. So essentially, Lightbend is done with Play. And so they're looking for somebody to take it over. If you are interested as an individual, an employer, or a company, contact Lightbend at play-team@lightbend.com. Like I said, they're actively looking for somebody to take it over. But yeah, so if you are using Play, you may want to start looking at other options to migrate to. Just to throw it out there, Spring Web Flux is a great alternative to check out.
This feels like their Grails moment.
It always feels like how they have like in the tribes when somebody gets of age, they have to do a trial, like like in the movies, they say, like it almost feels like an open source. Once your big sponsor leaves, that is your trial. Like that is almost going to determine if you're going to graduate to an actual like community maintained project or it's like no, there was not a lot of interest in it, it just falls over. So
see, that really is to your point. That's the test, right? And the fact that this blog post has been posted tells me that it's already failed the test because you can't. I wouldn't believe that they didn't already try reaching out to the obvious people. Do you want the Play framework beyond
just back channeling and say this is
exactly finding a nice landing place for it? That's what we did with Grails. Like when VMware divested itself of Grails, we worked the channels and OCI. Yep. OCI, so right? Yeah. So we found a good landing spot for it. They were interested in taking it over, and so and the community went on, right? That's what open source is supposed to do. Throwing up a blog post tells me that the community has already spoken, and it has said,
and that's why there's like this Spring framework that it's very.
Yeah, I feel like that's, one of the risks you take from that corporate governance model is because you've been in charge for so long, you don't really have like a multi-vendor thing around it. Like, the projects that become popular in like the Apache Software Foundation, like a lot of times they're successful because they start off with a multi-vendor. Because like to graduate as a podling, most of the time you have to have more than one company involved.
I don't buy that that's the only reason though, because like there are plenty of projects that I think it really goes back to the community, regardless of who the steward is. If take Ibatis for an example, like the steward walked away from that and it got forked and it went on, Open source has ways of dealing where that doesn't work out even with a single vendor. And so, I mean, if, pick another, if Red Hat were to walk away from Hibernate, you can't tell me somebody isn't going to fork that and take it out. Like,
oh yeah,
but it's still a single vendor project right now, from a stewardship perspective. So I really think, you have to build up your community regardless of who the steward is.
No, but that is the part, right? Like building up the community, usually like whoever is the steward of the project has the capability, not sure if the responsibility, but I think that if they want the project to be successful, their responsibility of building that community, right?
100%.
It should have been to a point where Spring does it very well, where there is Spring conferences, you get people together. There is like a bunch of other people that are like always invested into what's happening on the Spring ecosystem, right? And so it could be like if they have to announce it that way when they're shopping it, it could be that maybe the community didn't either latch on or the stewardship was they're trying to grow that community and it didn't go the way they wanted it, right? Liven had a lot of challenges from what was TypeSafe, right?
Yep.
So,
and part of it could be they're looking for that high bar of having somebody that does have corporate money involved rather than trying to look to move it to either like a working group or Apache or something like that. Maybe what they didn't do, and what you have to give them credit for, is they didn't do like the, what was it? It was, I think I'm thinking Resilience for J, but it's Hysterex, where it's like, yeah, we're done. The Netflix, this project is now closed. Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you, Netflix.
Thank you, Netflix.
Oh my gosh! I still have nightmares because that was overnight.
You still got to give them credit for not doing that.
Yes, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. You never know.
But have they? I mean, so they flat out say, where is it?
We're done playing our chapter on this adventure.
TLDR, we are working to form a community-led organization that would take responsibility for the future development of Play framework outside of Lightbend.
Right. History says we're done.
Outside of if they don't find anybody, is the end result any different?
It could be. I mean, I guess it could be the same. I'm not even sure. I mean, maybe somebody else has more inside baseball than I did. Netflix even shop that around? I mean,
But it was like that was a weird, because it was popular and then
it was gone. Yeah, no, that was the most awkward.
Read only. Good luck.
It's Apache license. You can fork it. We won't sue you.
No, it's definitely. Let's put it this way: the intent here is they wanted to.
Yeah.
So maybe there's like gold star for trying, and hopefully it'll survive.
You never know. There could be a shop out there that wants to, take it and fork it and keep it going. Or,
yeah.
Could happen.
So now we're getting to the meat of our discussion topic. All right. So who brought this one in?
Oh, so I brought that one in, and this one kind of broadsided me a bit because so Facebook's been in the news quite a bit recently, and I know we'll be talking about more of that later.
In the news,
but they're looking at a name change. Natural transition, moving away from Lightbend, another company that changed their name, but now we're talking about Facebook changing their name and looking at a rebranding.
Hey, really quick, guys.
Wow.
I need to step away for 5 minutes. I don't know if
all right. Click the pause button.
Yeah. How can we do this?
Sorry. Yeah.
All right. We're back live again. So I'll just start off. So from our segue from our friends at Lightbend, bring us into our main topic about Facebook having been in the news. And they're talking about changing their name. So I know we were just talking about Lightbend, but this is like, the type safe to Lightbend times 1,000, right? So crazy times we live in. So this article literally just came out. So I'm trying to just grapple with how you would rebrand a company like Facebook.
So they haven't, my understanding is they have not officially announced, or there's only a handful of people, even within Facebook, that know what's going to happen. They're supposed to announce it later this week. But, some of the speculation is this going to be Facebook's Google Alphabet moment? Where they, it used to just be Google, then they created basically a parent company, and they spun off all these other companies. Is given some of the challenges that Facebook is facing, which when you think about back when Google did the Alphabet thing, wasn't completely, they weren't exactly scot-free at that point in their history either. This may be a way of getting ahead of things from a legal structure perspective.
But so what I'll posit the question is, what triggers a name change, right? It's I understand, is it really that right now Facebook is associated with so much things that are going on that they just cannot afford to have that name anymore? Because companies do survive, having the same name. Other companies pivot, thinking from TypeSafe to Lightbend, right? That was a thing that they were trying to say. It's look, we're not only about type safety, we're not only about Scala, we are bigger than that. And they're
I think if Michael's right, though, the name change is almost a smoke screen. The real work is the division of the companies into segments. Because the same thing, just to give some background, what are the challenges they're facing, right? There is congressional testimony against them. There is looking at antitrust. There is a number of things that is in legislature right now that could end up erupting against Facebook in the same way that, and it could still even happen against Google. But the difference between Google and Facebook right now is Google is segmented into, 4 different companies under Alphabet?
That's more than that, but yeah.
Is it more?
Okay. They basically partitioned the company, right? It's what they did. And, Facebook could easily do the same thing. Really quick, going back to what Freddie was asking, why do you do a name change? Yeah. It's when the name gets tied to things you don't want it tied to. The 2 big rebrandings that I can think of that I distinctly remember are TypeSafe to Lightbend, and it's because TypeSafe was tied to the Scala ecosystem, and they were trying to broaden that horizon. You could debate the effectiveness of that. The other one was Comcast to Xfinity. Another one that everybody hated Comcast. The Comcast stinks because of the service and whatnot. So they rebranded, that division, if you will, because I think they
still
have
Comcast. The company is still Comcast.
Exactly. But like the internet portion of that company is now Xfinity.
So you can now hate him under Xfinity.
I mean, make no mistake about it. The reason they did that was because Comcast was a tainted name. Like people hated Comcast. I mean,
what do you think about when somebody says Facebook? You think about the app, the Facebook application that people log into to visit with people. You don't think about all these other offshoots that have sprung up over the.
Well, not yet, but I mean, like, again, like, it's, just to delve more into our discussion topic. I mean, Facebook is starting to draw comparisons to like cigarette companies. I mean, so there's congressional testimony. What was it, 2 weeks ago that it started about research within the company showing that their product is harmful, that they knew the product was harmful, and that they did not make significant enough adjustments to try to mitigate some of these things.
Well, no, actually, my understanding is that they did try making some changes and it made it worse. Yeah, my understanding is that the changes they tried implementing actually made it worse. But going back to the segmentation argument, Facebook is, to Josh's point, Facebook isn't just the website in that app. It's Messenger, it's WhatsApp, it's Instagram, they have other businesses that, from a legal perspective, they very well may want to protect.
Right.
So as things are going wrong over here, we can, partition this other stuff off, keep it safe or whatever, and not rock the boat too bad. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And history will tell you that if they don't do it, the government will do them for you, like Bell Labs and other large companies that have been split up through antitrust in the past.
Mm-hmm. No, and that is so there's like two parts on that. Like the first one is what name are they going to pick? I'll love if they just go back to the Facebook. That'll be fun.
I doubt it. We just paid a marketing company several $1 million to add the back to our name.
Right, the first
it's happened before, but I mean, come on.
They're gonna buy the MySpace brand.
And the second one, which I think it is as it relates to us technologists, is this is making its way to Congress. It's in Congress right now, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, Bob, you're absolutely right. It's scary in the sense that, like, it's almost once like, like when the judge sometimes say, you guys figure it out, don't come to my court for this, and then they tried to figure like I think that happened on OV Google, where the first judge is like, why don't you guys didn't fix it on your own, right? So it's almost the same thing. Once you get it to Congress, Congress may say, okay, you guys have a chance to fix it yourselves. Now we're going to step in. We're
going to fix it for you. And I mean, the experience with Congress is it's probably not going to be the best way to fix it, but it's going to be a way to fix it. And it's probably going to have some pretty significant implications beyond that company, whether it's regulations around software, whether it's dividing up the companies where you end up with, okay, well, if you're in the social media market, maybe you can't be in news. I'm just speculating. There's a lot of different directions this can go in, depending on what problem they want to try to solve. I mean, there's the problem of misinformation being sent through. There's the problem of basically, the biggest thing that at least from the articles I read about them, is just coming out of how it's just so terrible for teen girls, just this body image issues on Instagram and how, they knew this was a problem. And either couldn't, maybe they tried to solve it, but
So that is a question, right? Like a couple of things that come to my mind. The first one is did they try to solve it? Like it was just a misstep, and it was just like we know this is not the first time Mr. Zuckerberg is in front of Congress, and the thing that we remember always watching Mr. Zuckerberg is he always say, "I'm sorry, we'll do better.
We'll do better. But if they don't actually do better, I mean, like, so it has to be more visible.
Go back to the teacher and say,
when
like,
I look at Facebook, the most visible things I can see from changes they've made is related to the misinformation thing, where they'll post a little blurb below something that maybe is bashing a vaccine to say, hey, this is some information about vaccine.
And it still isn't very good.
And it's not good. It's not.
It's not. It's horrible. I've had because it isn't very good. I've still had many debates with people on Facebook. I actually think it's sad that this overshadows. There are actually some good things that company does. Like Facebook isn't.
They're not Philip Morris. They're not selling just a cancer-causing project, and that's it.
Right. They're not the evil empire. I mean, it's the whole checking in that you're safe on Facebook.
I remember that program.
Organized, protests have been organized. There've been a lot, safety around within countries where there's dictators. Like there have been good things that have happened because this platform exists. Don't get me wrong. They're screwed up and the things need to get fixed. Going back to Freddie's point, like I'm sorry, we'll do better. You got to Bob's point, you got to actually do it. Like that's the part that feels like it's missing is there's right now there's no accountability for them.
Is it that there's no accountability because you're letting the market dictate, but Facebook is technically like, if I leave like that social media because, they're doing bad, there's really nothing I can like.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question because like you look at even Facebook's marketing department. Like, I don't know if you've seen the commercials where it's like, hey, Facebook, there's internet regulations. They were made a long time ago. We should change them. But they don't actually give any opinions of what they should be changed to. And I don't know if that's because they don't know or they just feel like, hey, we're going to give you this feel good thing that we know there's a problem and we're letting you know we also know there's a problem. I mean, I don't actually... I've seen those commercials, and the take I've always had on it, maybe this is just me being a cynic, is we want to scare you of the change. We want you to be as scared of anybody proposing to change the existing laws. Oh, so you actually think it's we don't actually want to change, so we're going to suggest change?
That's
kind of
interesting. I never thought of the commercials that way. I mean, I found it odd to propose, yeah, we need to change without nudging in a certain direction, because I feel like that's how most types of lobbying works, right? You have at least an idea of where you want to nudge things, and yeah, you may not be over the top about it, but you're going to kind of push a little bit.
But those commercials they don't, because I don't think that what they'd be looking for, people either wouldn't like. Like that's why I think it's make people afraid of the change, is because
is it
anything they would propose would probably sound bad on paper. Like if you actually, but if somebody told somebody like, this is what we want you to change, be like, wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you almost have to think of like, what was the original kind of intent behind the laws that we have? So, I mean, the biggest thing is what that section 231, I may be making that up. Basically the protections we give against companies when you post something on the internet, they're not liable for the information that you post.
Yeah.
So 230. Section 230 is I feel like the crux of a lot of what this is. Yeah. And I mean, it basically kind of, I think the intent of it was almost like, A, hey, we're letting individuals do this, and B, like this is the United States, it's a lot of free speech litigation in there. I mean, like just past history of, you know what, you're going to say what you want, but you're going to be accountable for it. But like the weird thing is like the Facebook user is not accountable at all to anything that they post on there. It's really almost like the consumers are the ones, like the people consuming misinformation or the bad things, you know, the teenager that's looking at somebody posting something that's going to make them feel terrible. It's on the consumer end, not the producer end, where the pain is felt.
So yeah, and that goes directly to how Facebook and whatnot works. Mm-hmm. You know, it isn't a democratic display of everything in your feed. Facebook has an algorithm that shows you what they think. Right. That gets, I mean,
No,
it's been spun that it's what that the algorithm shows you what they think you want to see. It's what's going to get the biggest rise out of you. It's what's going to get you to interact with the platform the most. So that's what the algorithm is optimized for.
So there were a couple of parts because like I do remember like Zuckerberg's position on this was we shouldn't be the police of information, and they were always trying to say like, look, we are not going to be like looking at content, and the reason that I think Zuckerberg said is like we'll make information available for those who want to, and the idea is like everything fights each other, but the real truth rises on top. Like you don't get to control what people see and then say the market will allow itself to work itself out. Well, either you have to step back and let the market do its thing, which is then you have to display everything. You basically got to rip out the algorithm of customization. Like you can't. The thing is like
you either have to rip that out or you have to.
No, but it's as a. I think there's the challenge I have with that is that they will display I think if Mark Zuckerberg have it this way, they will display everything, but it's almost like having a million hits on Google on the first page. Like
I don't think you can display everything anymore. I mean. Like you need a filter for the internet to be comprehensible.
We're not talking about the internet though. I mean, this is
but I mean, Facebook has enough content where it is a subsection of the internet where it is a fire hose of information. Like there's too much information on Facebook for me just to say anybody that I'm friends with should just be able to post anything in my feed. It's too much. But then give you the tools to tailor that. Don't give Facebook the right to pick and choose what you get to see, literally based on what gets the biggest reaction out of you to drive engagement. But that's what the algorithm optimizes for, is to get the biggest reaction out of you. I mean, let's lay that bare. Do you think that is the only thing that is? So if there was complete transparency and I am able to, and again, like we're talking about kind of magic technology to create a filter that, where I'm not like writing regex, like I'm not going to my mother's house and being like, Mom, this is the regex you need to get the things that you want to see and what you don't want to see. Because I think it's a complicated problem just to even create said filter, right? That is probably above the average user, to be perfectly honest. Let's say that exists, just to put it out there. Does that solve the problem if that existed?
So my thing is, you can't sit there and be Mark Zuckerberg telling Congress that we aren't going to filter knowledge when that is exactly what they do. That's fair criticism. You cannot and then basically throw up your hands and say, well, the market's going to decide. It's our users that are deciding to disseminate this information. That's not true. They are Facebook is making the initial choice. They are filtering out content based on that. And you can't have it both ways. Either Facebook controls it or the market controls it. You can't say, and if Facebook controls it, then they've got to take responsibility for it.
So yeah, where does this end up potentially? I mean, is Congress going to ask to audit the algorithm? Is it going to be basically like litigation around algorithm of what? Okay.
I hope not.
I mean, that's seriously the thing that scares me too, right? I mean, because if I'm a legislator, let's say I know nothing about technology, which most of them don't, I'm going to say, well, if this is the problem, then we're going to create some rules around this, and that's going to fix it, right? We're going to audit it. We're going to make sure that all this information is available, and somebody's going to look at it and make sure that everybody's playing fairly.
They're going to do
yeah. And I'm with you that is going to be, that's not going to work.
No, that's bad news. I get that.
Yeah. It's almost like
you'll notice Google has never been beat up to this level for their algorithm.
And it's arguable that search is just as influential
if not more.
If
depending
not
on-
more.
Yeah,
Especially
depending
because the perception that it is unbiased.
on- right, and but it's less bias. They have a vested interest in getting you where you want to go.
What you want to search for, right?
Right. Facebook's vested interest is in getting a reaction out of you. It is getting you to engage. That is the vested interest of Facebook. That's how they make their money. And because of that, what is the most likely thing to get you to react? Something down the middle or something along the fringes. And that's why we see that polarization. It's the fringe content that gets the most reactions.
Correct. Right. And that's why, like, sometimes, I had this complaint about Twitter, where my Twitter feed is all rage right now. And it's just like, okay, I know that I keep looking at and I keep getting angry, but that's not what I want to feel. So I stopped using Twitter. Like, you got to the point where
there was an experiment years ago now where somebody liked everything in his feed. Just if it appeared, he liked it just to see what the algorithm would do. And he said within 48 hours, it was unreadable. He's like, it was so extreme. Within 48 hours, it was so extreme what he was getting at, what was being presented to him, that he's like, I can't even look at this anymore.
Yeah, I bet.
No, but that is interesting, because there was a talk between, and I think that I heard this some of the reporting that was done, where remember where Apple was making it essentially saying, we're going to restrict what kind of like privacy information any of the apps that are on our phone has, and had like that new like toggle where it will ask you like, oh, do you want Facebook to know X, Y, and Z things? And they make it super easy to, like, right now, like, you can sort of do the same things before the Apple update, but it was very hidden. It was very hard on it. So Zuckerberg said, like, you're destroying my business. I need to sell ads. I need to know this information. And then it's like, Zuckerberg says, like, ask, or at least that's what was reported. is they asked Tim Cook, what should I do? And Tim Cook says, just say, reinvent your model. Your model is broken. Like that was sort of like the advice of, I mean, again, Apple, it's on his high horse, like saying like, oh, privacy and stuff, but Apple does some shady things too.
But good. The same. I mean, Google already solved that problem. They read your email.
Mm-hmm.
They read your email to give you the targeted ads. Like that. There's no secret there.
That's why they can give it to you for free.
Exactly. Anytime you're not paying for something. Go ahead, Bob. You can say it.
You are the product. Yes.
Yes. Exactly.
No. So the issue is that Facebook doesn't want engagement just because of engagement's sake, but it's because they are collecting information of you. They have ad exposure for that.
They monetize it.
Yeah, you get more ads the more you engage, right? Like I don't know how effective they are, but it got to the point where I think actually I start seeing these complaints where even if you post in your feed and you have like 10,000 like people subscribe to your feed, it gets to the point where you're competing with so much content and so much ads that even if you post like, oh, this is my new newsletter. I actually seeing a bunch of like people on my Twitter feed saying like, don't try to subscribe on my Facebook letter. Just go email, because they're forcing them to pay for something that 10 years ago it will have been a post on my wall page about something that I created. So
I mean, I guess for me though, like I feel like that's one of the big differences though between, we just talked about how Google has kind of gotten away with being able to curate things where Facebook is now under a lot of scrutiny. One of the differences I feel in Google's algorithm is they will label the ads up front. Now, Facebook also labels ads, but I feel like it's a little bit more like when I'm getting the curated content from Facebook, there's a lot of personal posts that are being selected
Yeah.
because of the same things the ads are based on, and that's driving it.
Has Facebook ever actually been beaten up though about their ads? Like the argument or everything I hear about Facebook is exactly, and it's like I think if they stuck with the Google's model, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I think if they just stuck with, we're going to serve you up targeted ads based on what you like. Like we're going to leave your feeds alone. Like you're going to get everything. It's going to be a fire hose. You figure it out. We'll offer filters.
You can block.
Exactly. Yeah, you do you with regards to some. We'll give you filters and that kind of thing. There's different ways to organize it, different ways to slice it, whatnot. And I think that would be fine. It's the fact that they actually manipulate. It'd be the equivalent of Google reordering your inbox based on what they think is gonna get you the most responses. Which emails are you most likely to respond to? Like that is, I think that's the problem that Facebook is facing right now. Is that's what they're actually doing, and so because of that, some emails you never see at all, or you have to search for them. And the ones that rise to the top are the ones that get the biggest rise out of you, which also are the most controversial and most likely be fake news and all the things that Congress is investigating right now.
Nigerian person that wants to unlock their $3 million account.
that one would always fall to the top. It'd be great to get it all done.
Yeah. I mean, I feel it's almost more nuanced than that though. So I feel like what you're talking about, Michael, is an aspect of it. But I also feel like, and this may just be an aspect of social media that you don't have in search, where I'm getting information from people in my network that I have different levels of trust for, and I have the ability to build my own quote unquote echo chamber of people. So like if I'm, anti-vaccine, if I'm anti anything, I'm already setting the standard close to that so that I'm only receiving that information. And this is me manually curating. I feel like there's almost even, so I guess what I'm settling at is there's things outside of the company of Facebook is if, and the reason I pose the question is this: if I had that magic tool that gave me the filter that only gave me exactly what I wanted, does that solve the problem? I feel the answer is actually still no. I'm feeling I'm almost my worst enemy.
So on one hand, I agree with you with regards to, you can craft your bubble, you can craft your own echo chamber on social media. I agree with that. And to your point, even if the information was democratized, that you still have a high likelihood of that happening. I agree with you there. Two things. Number one, Facebook then could say though, that this is the market doing its thing, right? Then they could throw up their hands. Exactly. Yeah. Then the whole section, whatever, they not be held liable. Then that would hold up for me. It doesn't now because they actually actively filter. And number two, I have to believe, and maybe this is me being naive, that while the echo chambers would exist, it'd be harder to break out in what you're describing. Like it would be harder for information to break out of those echo chambers.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. Can you elaborate a little bit more? When you say break out, what does that mean?
Exactly. So
you'll stay within the anti-vaxxer group because
exactly. Yeah. So you'd have groups that, they, let's say you got friends that are anti-vaxxers, like they talk about their anti-vaxxer stuff, but outside of that, my mother-in-law probably wouldn't see many posts on that, if any, just because of the way of the structuring of friends and whatnot, because of the natural nature of the network, right? Like there's a reason we didn't hear about that stuff before. It's because of our networks didn't connect that way. Now I feel Facebook's algorithm on top of it encourages that stuff to break out of their own microcosms, or at least are more likely to.
Because I think that one of the even going to the curated, right? Like I just want to see stuff from my friends, right? And the thing is that this medium, right? The social media allows you to have 10,000s of friends, right? Like that. I have people from high school that send me a friend request 15 years ago, and I click OK, and they sort of are on my feed But like would I call them friends now? Not really. I don't talk to them since like that time in high school.
What is with you in all of you in the 10,000 friends thing? I just pulled it up. I got 159 friends on Facebook.
I don't know. I have like this pages.
Freddie's an extrovert, so he's probably got more friends than all of us.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up my Facebook right now.
Freddie probably has more friends currently than I ever have. I think
I have more than you, Michael, but I'm sure I have less than Freddie.
Well, it's actually been a running joke with some of my friends is that for a while I'm actually overdue to do it. I would do an annual cleanse of Facebook.
I'm slightly above you, Michael. I'm at 177. So
okay,
1,000. No.
I would do an annual cleanse of Facebook friends. Either you had to be related to me, you were an actual friend or a person that I actually care about, like, or you provided some form of entertainment value to me. So like your feed was funny or something like that. Like everybody else, be gone with you. Like you're of no use to me.
Oh gosh, no.
So I would do that like once a year for a while. I'm actually overdue to do it.
so the 150 is going to go down soon. That's what you're saying.
No, let me see. I have 170, so I don't have that much. They feel like 1,000. I'll say that, and I have like I think that like, but that is the thing though, right? Like because of this huge circle, I will have a slice of a spectrum of things that I don't have as like if I were to consider them friends, it's like we really don't have that much in common. So it's like I'll get stories of things that are like I don't care or I don't really agree with your opinion, right? And that is a social media problem. Like I don't think that is something that will happen. Like if I have a party, I might hear an odd comment from somebody like of my inner circle, but it's like, all right, that's one person on one corner just talking about, like, it's not going to be like in my face, like Facebook make things happen.
Yeah. And I mean, it's Facebook, hard. It's because I have friends that post multiple times a day. They're going to put every picture they ever taken on it. Like, I mean, we all have those people.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we were not to have filters at all, like it's just whoever screams the loudest. And I mean, I don't think we want that either.
No. But again, even who the friends are that Facebook recommends, even those can get to the fringes, right? So like, I'll be honest with you. I was bullied mercilessly in high school. And one of the people that is a regular recommended person, in that bar where they recommend people to connect with, he's in there. The guy that bullied me mercilessly is routinely in there now. I don't know how they connected it. I mean, we went to the same high school. It's probably the extent of our connections. But yeah, like he's regularly in there.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I don't know because even having a magic, I think I don't know how to, like, I don't think there is a clear path to solve it. Like, I think Bob is right. Like, we are like, it cannot be trusted to the individual because, again, Facebook makes it too easy of having this breadth of friends that might bring things that, like that create the bubbles. Yeah, but Congress will say something.
I feel like it's possible. And that's the thing that's scary. I mean, I don't know how this all plays out. I mean, there's a number of different ways. I mean, with Facebook being so entwined with our lives, I mean, there's a chance that, like anything that's bad for us, that we start building maybe an immunity to it, where it's like, okay, this thing that is giving me this bad information is either going to cause the people that, believe it to suffer financially, health-wise by, virtue of just getting bad information, or, it's just going to continue to be something that drags people down, or, maybe we build up a resistance to it where it's like, okay, I'm only going to give it so much credence now because I've seen what's happened to enough people. Like, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I hesitate to say that this is a proven fact, but there have been studies that have shown that the more you use social media, the more likely you are to be depressed. Like that's
that is true. I think that was it. They say like because the social media view of people is curated to the good things.
Even from what we put out, we present ourselves on social media through a particular lens.
Mhm.
Yeah. And people think that's then they'll believe that that's normal and that our life sucks because I'm not eating a great sandwich in some Soho district sandwich shop, right? Yeah, my solution was just not to be on Facebook.
I mean, that's kind of the one I've taken. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you, Josh. I mean, like I guess I would call myself just a Facebook voyeur. I watch every once in a while, but I don't post a lot and I don't invest a lot of time in it.
Yeah.
I've found though that unfortunately
you're angry all the time. We know you're on Facebook all the time.
I'm actually not on his Facebook as much as you'd think. But like the reason I can't walk away from it is there are certain things that's the way they disseminate information. Mm-hmm. Schools are a good example of that. Yeah. Like the high schools in our area have had 3 threats in the past week that have caused schools to be shut down and evacuated. And unfortunately, the fastest way for us to get information is via social media. Bob, you can say you're going to stay off Facebook, but Becky does not.
No, that's actually that trick. I use that same trick.
And so my wife is the same way. Like my wife is on it way more than me.
I wasn't going to say it. I was going to let you say it. So
the only reason I know Becky is because my wife, Erica,
you're 100% correct. So I will not dispute this fact with you
because our wives are friends on Facebook as well.
They are.
Yeah. Gabby, like my wife, Gabby is the same. Like, she will be plugged in, but I'm like, I can't. Even Twitter, I'm still trying to figure out how to fix Twitter. But yeah, it's social media it's hard because I think part of it is like even just a segue to Twitter. It's like I feel that you have to be in Twitter because that became your business card some 8 years ago. Like that was like everybody you go is like, oh, what's your Twitter handle? And then they sort of learn about you that way. Yeah. But yeah, it's almost like you have to participate in social media, even though you might not like it. And to be honest, for some people, Facebook is the internet. Like they don't know anything outside of Facebook. Like you can
it's replaced AOL.
Yeah.
If you think about how AOL was, like you'd get your news from AOL, you chatted on AOL, you like, except for that you've got mail and the sound as your modem dialed in. It does a lot of the same features that we had back then. I mean, it put it all in one spot again.
And maybe like, again, just to connect it back to why is Facebook in the news? Why is it in front of Congress right now is, there was internal research that was done that showed some of these bad things. And the fact that, we're learning about it through a whistleblower.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe at the end of the day, social media is just a hard problem, but social media, if they're going to spend this time doing this research and they're going to suck at solving the problems because they're hard problems, not because they're bad, but maybe they're just hard problems. Maybe they just need to be more transparent with us and just say, look, we did this research. We put it out there. We don't need a congressional inquiry for this to happen. We're just going to send it out to the world and help us make it better. Maybe that's the solution.
The thing, and I think that the thing that qualifies, because that is one of the last bullet points, is the problem is that Facebook is a for-profit company. And so far, the things that, like, it's not that they did a research and they discovered it was bad and they tried to fix it. We're learning that Facebook will sometimes, and this was, I think, what they call the BIP list of certain influencers, where when even Facebook has a policy, we're not going to allow this. We're not going to allow this kind of like post. We're not going to allow this. If you were a VIP that creates,
but you're famous.
Yes.
Oh, but you're a politician. Oh, but you're president. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's what's going to get Facebook in the biggest trouble. Is
that duality of
if Facebook, even the we're sorry, we'll do better. While I think everybody in this call agrees that it's kind of a BS response if you're not actually trying to do better. it's when even then they're like, you're really not though. Like you know those VIPs should be censored or filtered or however you want to put it the same way as everybody else, and you're choosing not to. That's explicitly not doing better. That's actively trying not to do better. And so that's just flat out lying. And that's what's I think that's what's going to get in trouble.
Better for stakeholders. I mean, that's right. That's the only reason you keep those things, because and that is that. I think that is one of the sources of the conflict, and why Facebook is on the hot seat yet again. Is they are trying to appease the people that has performance expectations on how this is going to do, and Facebook is lying on a very morally dubious line where they know they're actually trying to figure out how much to skirt it, and that's again, it's going to suck for all of us, because what that means is they're going to create regulation. I mean, the one that I remember was COPA.
Yep, and PIPA,
right? Like, which was aimed at kids and to be, well, maybe imperfect, but there were certain things that I did like my kid couldn't sign up to anything he wants. Like now he crossed the threshold, and now he can just do it on his own. But before it was like, nope, you need a parent's email at least. The kids that really want to do what they want, they'll figure a way out.
Lie about your birthday.
Yeah.
but going back to our concern about, is Congress going to get it right? I remember listening to the hearings of that, and I don't remember. It drives me crazy. I don't remember what congressperson it was, but he started off. Everybody's got their time to speak in these hearings, and he started off saying, "I've never been on the internet, but I am for this legislation for blah blah blah." I'm like, the fact that you are starting off saying you've never been on the internet should disqualify you from being on the committee in the first place.
What was it? The Alaska one? The intertubes? That was for net neutrality. Yeah, that was the other one I remember, where they're like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna block the intertubes with stuff, and we don't want that." It's like, I don't even know what point you're for or against net neutrality.
Talking about water slides or what?
Seriously.
Somebody made a big doo-doo. Oh gosh. But yeah, so I think it got to the point. Facebook, I think, is too big too. Like, that is the problem, right? Like, people could say, like, I'm done with this, I don't want to be part of it, but there's really no other way. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully if there is legislation, hopefully they'll listen. Hey, we volunteer to educate any congressperson that wants to be educated on these topics. So we wanted, we're a call away. We're a Twitter handle away. So
happy to have you happy to have you on the show and talk about this.
Absolutely.
Yep. And just to try to get it at least not quite right, but less wrong. And I think Bob is right. This is a very complex thing to try to solve. 3 people and a curmudgeon would not be able to do it in 10 hours.
Well, we'll try it in 1.5. What can you say?
We'll get a D+. All right. Well, that's as far as we can go today. I wanted to thank everyone for contributing to this episode, and for our listeners to listen. And that's it. Thank you for listening to OffHeap. This is Freddie signing off.
Bob signing off.
Josh signing off.
Michael signing off. If you on Twitter, please make sure to follow us on Twitter at OffHeap. And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah. Talk about certain we are in social media.
We're part of the problem, but also part of the solution.